All right, let's jump right into this, because today's explainer covers a true story that is, honestly, going to make you think twice before you ever take a spontaneous road trip at night. We're unpacking a chilling, real-life paranormal encounter that took place on a winding, pitch-black mountain road in Maharashtra, India. It's this wild phenomenon that perfectly blends ancient local folklore with modern-day terror, detailing a night ride that just went horribly, horribly wrong. So grab a seat, maybe lock your doors, and let's get into it.
So, picture this. Have you ever been driving on a lonely mountain road that just simply refused to end? Imagine you're behind the wheel, or out exposed on a motorcycle, and you are surrounded by absolute pitch-black darkness. Your GPS totally fails, this thick fog rolls in, and you slowly start to realize that the road you're on is repeating itself. It's a deeply unsettling thought, right? Well, what we're about to explore isn't just some hypothetical thought experiment. For two friends, this exact nightmare became a very inescapable reality.
Section 1. Monsoon's Fatal Invitation.
Our story actually kicks off in the last week of May. These heavy, dark clouds had been gathering over Pune, and the very first rains of the monsoon had just started to fall. And you know how it is, that beautiful, atmospheric rain acted like a siren song, tempting our two guys into a fateful decision. But we have a really stark contrast between our protagonists here. On one hand, you've got Akash. He's your classic thrill-seeker, completely skeptical of any local superstitions, and he absolutely insists on taking his powerful bullet motorcycle out into the storm. Then, on the other hand, there's Pankaj. He represents pure caution. He actively warned Akash, telling him that the road to the Konkan region at night is basically like hell, especially during that slippery first monsoon rain. But, as it usually goes, the skeptic won the argument. Akash's stubbornness completely steamrolled Pankaj's survival instincts, and that set them right on a collision course with disaster.
Their descent into total isolation happened incredibly fast. Let's look at the timeline. At 11 p.m., they leave the safety and the bright city lights of Pune behind. The vibe immediately shifts, right? It grows freezing cold, the roads are completely deserted, and everything is heavily shadowed by these dense trees. By midnight, the fatigue and hunger start creeping in, which leads them to a crucial pit stop at an isolated little tea stall. And then we hit the critical timestamp, 2:30 a.m. That is when they finally cross the threshold into the deepest, darkest heart of Kashedi Ghat.
Moving to Section 2, the Kashedi Ghat Warning.
Okay, so when they pulled up to that midnight tea stall earlier, they were greeted by this old man with deep wrinkles and heavy sunken eyes. And when the boys casually mentioned, that they were heading to Konkan just to enjoy the rainy weather, the old man literally froze. His hands just stopped moving. He looked dead at these city boys and issued this chilling warning. He said, on that Ghat, people often see things they shouldn't. He warned them that all the frequent, gruesome accidents up on Kashedi Ghat, they aren't just caused by bad driving or people falling asleep at the wheel. They're caused by the sudden appearance of the impossible. He spoke of a local entity that literally awakens with the first fog of the monsoon.
The old man gave this entity a specific name, the Chakva. Now, in local folklore, a Chakva isn't just your standard ghost. It's more like an illusionary trap. It messes with the minds of travelers, causing them to walk or drive in endless, repetitive circles. The goal of the Chakva isn't necessarily to attack you directly. Its main weapon is just absolute exhaustion. It drains your fuel, it drains your sanity, and it traps you in a literal dead end. Of course, out on the dark road, Akash just laughed the whole thing off as a silly old superstition.
Section 3. Trapped by the Chakva.
So now it's 2:30 a.m. They've entered the absolute most notorious patch of Kashedi Ghat. The road is flanked by this incredibly dense, pitch-black jungle. And this is exactly when the trap finally springs. The Chakwa's attack was highly psychological and sensory. First, this unnatural, dead silence fell over the mountain, along with a really biting cold. Then, the primary weapon hit, this overwhelming, absolutely irresistible sleepiness. Akash's eyes kept forcing themselves shut, causing the heavy motorcycle to swerve violently across the road. To fight off the supernatural fatigue, Pankaj practically forced Akash to talk. He deliberately kept bringing up Akash's ex-girlfriend, Riya, and her habit of starting massive arguments. I mean, they were literally using trivial, annoying memories just to anchor their minds to the waking world. But then, Pankaj realized a terrifying geographic detail. This specific patch of the mountain, it should only take 15, maybe 20 minutes to cross.
Out of nowhere, Pankaj just starts screaming at Akash to stop the bike. He points over to the left side of the road at this broken banyan tree with a really heavy branch leaning down, and tied around its trunk is a very specific red cloth. Now, Akash thought it was nothing, just another random tree in the dark, but Pankaj was completely paralyzed with fear.
He tells Akash that he saw this exact same tree with this exact same red cloth half an hour ago. Despite driving perfectly straight at 80 kilometers per hour, they had not moved forward an inch.
And then, the staggering realization really hits them. 2 hours. They had been trapped in a continuous, seamless loop for 2 full hours. Think about that. They had been riding in a straight line, but mechanically somehow going in endless circles. Half of their motorcycle's petrol tank had been totally burned through, and they were in the exact spot where they started. The old tea seller's warning was 100% real. The Chakva had them.
Section 4. The road to nowhere. Now, realizing you're stuck in a supernatural loop is bad enough, right? But what happens when your only means of escape is abruptly ripped away from you? The reliable mechanical world that the boys trusted was about to completely fail them. Without any warning, no sputtering, nothing. The bullet's engine just died instantly. That's step 1. In an absolute panic, Akash jumps on the kickstart, but step 2, it had lost all compression. It just swung completely free, echoing uselessly in the silent mountain air. And finally, step 3. Those bright headlights, the ones Akash proudly bragged would pierce through any darkness, they simply faded out to pitch black. The boys were totally stranded. Terrified of these weird rustling noises coming from the trees all around them, they made the call to abandon the bike and just walk along the road using their weak mobile phone flashlights. But walking did not save them. Actually, a physically impossible shift in reality happened right then. As they were walking, the hard asphalt of the Kashedi Ghat road simply ceased to exist beneath their feet. And I mean, it didn't just taper off into a dirt path. It vanished instantly. They looked down and realized they were suddenly standing directly in the middle of a dense, thorny thicket. The actual highway was just gone, which left them standing alone in the pitch dark, completely surrounded by thorns, facing one absolutely terrifying question. What on earth was hiding behind those bushes? Pankaj noticed something pale and white moving just slightly in the foliage over to their right. Shaking with terror, both boys slowly raised their phones, pointing those weak little camera flashlights into the dark, rustling leaves to see exactly what it was that had trapped them.
Section 5. The Entity in the Dark.
Let me tell you, what they captured in that weak little circle of mobile light completely shattered their understanding of reality. Sitting there, crouched on the wet mud, right in the middle of the bushes, was this bizarrely old woman. She had this messy, scattered white hair, but the most horrifying details? Her eyes. They were glowing in the flashlight beam, reflecting the light exactly the way a cat's eyes do, and she was staring dead at them, wearing this impossibly wide, absolutely inhuman smile. It was an image so deeply unnatural, so profoundly shocking, that their brains simply couldn't process it. The sheer terror caused both of their hearts to stutter, and Akash and Pankaj instantly lost consciousness, just collapsing right there into the thorny mud.
So you survived the night, but what actually happens after you encounter a Chakva? Well, at dawn, the very first rays of sunlight hit the mountain, and it seemingly breaks the illusion. The boys woke up, the dense thorny bushes, completely gone. They were just lying safely on the side of the regular paved road. Akash walks over to the motorcycle, kicks it once, and the engine roars to life instantly, like absolutely nothing was ever wrong. But the psychological scars definitely remained. Weeks later, Pankaj fell severely ill, consumed by this crazy high fever, and became completely withdrawn. He basically left his cheerful personality behind on that mountain. And as for Akash, to this very day, the former thrill-seeker absolutely refuses to ever ride a motorcycle at night again. Ever. But here, my friends, is where this explainer takes its final and honestly most unsettling turn. The real horror isn't just that this is some spooky campfire story passed around local tea stalls. There are actual, modern video reels uploaded by other riders documenting this exact same terrifying phenomenon. You can find videos showing entire groups of bikers getting trapped in the very same endless 2-hour loop on the supposedly straight roads of Kashedi Ghat. And if you pause at the right moments, hidden in the frames of some of those videos are brief, blurry glimpses of that exact same smiling entity, just waiting out there in the fog.
It completely changes how you view a simple, peaceful drive in the rain, doesn't it? Which leaves us with this final, kind of terrifying question to ponder. The next time you drive through a foggy mountain pass late at night, how will you really know if you're actually moving forward? Or are you just circling that exact same broken tree while something waits in the bushes for your headlights to finally die?
Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer today. Please stay safe on the roads out there and always keep questioning what you see in the dark.